Anna Hoffman.
Hey friends, I'm Nikolai.
Hi, I'm Mustafa Turaman.
Hi, I'm Tanya Janka.
Hello.
And I'm excited to be the speaker at Azure Summit 2021.
It's a fantastic event that will be 11 days live streaming,
where more than 100 speakers from all over the world.
I'm excited to speak at Azure Summit about Power BI and Synapse Analytics.
And I'm going to talk about security.
And also a Microsoft MVP for Azure.
I'm speaking at Cloud Summit about automated release of .NET application.
And the best part is that this is a free event.
Come join me live at Learn TV on September 17th.
Come join me live on Learn TV on September 14th.
Come join me on Learn TV on the 14th of September this year.
A bunch of other Microsoft and community speakers.
So if you want to learn how to secure Azure, come to my talk.
Join us, it will be a lot of fun.
See you there.
See you there.
See you there.
See you there.
Hi everyone and welcome back to Cloud Summit 2021. I'm your host Stephen Simon and we are now on day 6 of Cloud Summit. Can you imagine we have had 5 days of Summit and we now start day number 6. Welcome everyone once again. We are streaming the first 1 hour of Cloud Summit on different platforms, and the first 1 hour is very specifically also available on very exclusively, I would say, not even exclusively, but it is available on Learn TV and also on Microsoft Developers YouTube channel. We have power-packed session today, and I'm really excited and looking forward for the sessions today. And I see many people joining us today. Andrew says morning, joining from the UK. Welcome Mukta and welcome Ganesh. Many people joining in, so welcome back everyone. For Andrew and for people who are asking, the other day we had some technical issues and we couldn't stream the last 2 sessions of the day. Andrew and everyone who is joining, there's an update that the other day we couldn't stream the last 2 sessions, but we have the sessions recorded and we'll upload it on website towards the end of the month. That is when we go ahead and upload all the sessions. We're really sorry about that, but it would all be okay. So Andrew, I hope that answers your questions. Hello everyone. Hi Aman. Welcome to the Cloud Summit. Timmy says, hello, and my condolence to those that need to get up early on weekend to see this. I also appreciate Timmy, Andrew, Khalid, Ganesh, Narendra, everyone who is joining, and to all those thousands and thousands of people who are joining us every single day and spending the time with us. We hope that we're able to add some value to you, and I really appreciate it. Andrew says, was looking forward to Rod's session. Yeah, absolutely. I was behind the scene and I was looking at Rod's session the other day. What an amazing session he had. Unfortunately, we couldn't stream it, but we will make the live stream, the recording sessions available 100% sure. Also, Rod had some technical issues, so we couldn't stream anyway. Having said that, let's go ahead until our keynote speaker join. Let's actually quickly go ahead and look at the agenda for today. So to start with, we have keynote by Alan ONeill. Alan ONeill is, that's a welcome note. We have a keynote by Alan ONeill. He's going to talk about Azure in general and community. He's a Microsoft Regional Director. Timmy says, you definitely did. It is incredibly informative here. Thanks everyone who is joining. team. Aman says, I work on Microsoft Azure App Service team. Glad to see this platform for Azure. Thanks, Aman. That's great. We have some amazing Microsoft people joining us throughout this summit. The cloud advocates, the senior program managers, the product managers, data scientists, principal program managers, and yeah, I'm glad that you have joined us. Thank you. The other day also we had someone. We have many people joining from Microsoft and Azure team. Then after Alan's session keynote, we have a session by Gokan. Gokan is going to talk about on how you can build bot in minutes using data with Microsoft Teams. And I have personally seen his session. His session is absolutely great, and he covers a lot in just about 25 minutes. And first two sessions are only for 25 minutes. Then after that, we have session by Gonzalo. And here's one thing: Gonzalo's session is going to be a recorded one. So we apologize for that. Gonzalo couldn't make it, but Gonzalo also works at Microsoft as a customer success engineer for data and AI, and he's going to talk about Azure SQL managed instance. We've had many sessions around Azure SQL, and the other day also we had keynote by Anna Hoffman, who did share the vision of SQL, Azure SQL in journal, where that was, if you've missed it, just please register and we'll make sure that we share you all the recording links, individual recording links on your email. After that, we have a session on how you can become a troubleshoot rock star with Azure Monitor. And this sounds absolutely amazing. It's by Rickard O. Rickard is a Microsoft Azure MVP, a cloud and DevSecOps architect, and is one of the partners for this event. So really looking forward for that session. Then we have a session by Abhishek Mishra. Abhishek Mishra is a C# MVP, and in this session you will get to learn Azure for Java developers. If you're someone who, I'm not sure which day it was, but Rory, who is actually a cloud advocate at Microsoft, he works at Microsoft for in the Java ecosystem. So yeah, Microsoft and Azure is very welcoming to the entire developers ecosystem. So in Abhishek's session at about 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, you're going to learn about Azure for Java developers, and that is hosting a Java Spring Boot application on Azure Web App. Then we have a session by Ivan. Ivan, again, this session is also going to be recorded by Ivan. He's going to talk about monitoring infrastructure and services with Azure Admin Center on Microsoft Azure. All right, what else do we have? And after that, we take a break of about 20 minutes. And in those 20 minutes, we want you to go ahead and grab a cup of coffee, a tea, and then come back. I also need a break of at least 5 minutes. But you know what? I always have to start streaming a little early. So I have to come back a little soon always. Then we have session by Dennis. Dennis is again DBA, BI administrator, best on a group and data platform MVP. He's going to talk about cloud security. Now, cloud security is something that many of you people showed interest while the registrations. We have over 70,000 registrations. Can you even believe it? We have crossed 70,000 registrations, and until now we have crossed over 90,000 unique viewers across all platforms. After that, we have a session by Ankit. Ankit is going to talk about on how you can use how you can build a multi-language translator using Blazor server and Azure Cognitive Services. The other day you did see from Shweta where did she talk about Azure Cognitive Services and then built a complete end-to-end project in just about 35 minutes. In today's session of Ankit, you're going to learn on how you can use Cognitive Services in Blazor applications. Blazor is going a lot. Microsoft is investing a lot in that field. Then we have full stack Azure architecture by S. Ravi Kumar. He's going to cover a lot in just about 25 minutes. And the final session of the day is by Ashirwad, who's going to talk about build event-driven workflows using Azure Logic apps. So the entire day is packed with sessions. And yeah, everyone who's watching us on Learn TV and on Microsoft Developers YouTube channel, the stream is going to end just after 1 hour. And there's a chat option on Microsoft Developers YouTube channel, but there's no chat option on Learn TV. So if you're watching us on Learn TV, on the right-hand side, you can find a link that says azuresummit.live. You can click on it and follow along the rest of the session. Also, once you visit azuresummit.live website, you get an option to chat over there. Having said that, it's time we go ahead and invite our keynote speaker of the day, Alan ONeill. Alan ONeill is a Microsoft Regional Director and holds and a lot of designation. I don't remember it. but never mind. Let's invite Alan to Cloud Summit 2021. Hi, Alan. Welcome to Cloud Summit 2021.
How are you?
I'm I'm doing great today. How are you doing today?
Look at you. You've got all these neon lights and everything behind you. How
Yeah,
awesome.
I thought to upgrade myself before I go live on this Cloud Summit.
Very good. Very good.
All
So
right,
it's good. I
Alan.
mean, you've got you've done some amazing work. You got some huge amount of people watching. It's pretty awesome to see how, and I'm going to touch on it later, but how from such humble beginnings, right? Not only has you know, the online community that yourself, Mahesh, and the entire team has grown just in the last short 18 months or so, but how that all came from the humble beginnings of you know, one guy deciding to share his thoughts and his passion about a particular type of technology, has turned into now how many thousand people are we at today?
We have crossed 70,000 people today.
70,000 people. Like, it's one thing, I always think it's very cool. You know, I write a lot of technical articles, and I talk at conferences, and I talk to business folk all week long. And I look at the numbers, right? The numbers are always cool, right? And I look at the numbers that rack up over a period of time, and I go, wow, you know, my cumulative readers worldwide are like 6 million. I go, okay, but that's like 6 million over, you know, maybe 20 years of writing and all this kind of stuff, right? And that's cool that you've impacted, you know, those people, but that's gone, right? This is now, and stuff moves and stuff changes, and that's part of what I'm going to talk about. Is we're going to talk about joining the dots with Azure and how it affects everything. It's going to be a bad talk, right? But it's so interesting to me that this started with humble beginnings of one person deciding, I'm going to share my thoughts, and then suddenly today we have, you know, over 70,000 people. If we put them in a room, we wouldn't
Put
have
them in a stadium. Put them in a stadium.
in a stadium, right? So I'd get out there with my electric guitar, and we'd have, you know, Dave there playing his thing, and God rest his soul if we had Squidhead, such an awesome engineer that we lost this year, a great friend of so many. He'd be there as well, and he's there in spirit, right? So yeah, I sit here today, and I'm absolutely in awe of what the community has done, what Mahesh has done as a leader of this community, and what you personally have done as a driver of this on the ground, because you're the face of this, Simon, right? So
Lucky me, I would say, to be honest.
Lucky you should be proud. You know, you should be proud of what you've done. Yeah.
Hey, looking back, Alan, you just brought some memories. Looking back, if you remember, the very first small conference that we did was about 2 to 3 hours. That was called Public Speaking Virtual Conference, right? That's exactly time when the pandemic hit, and we were the very first one to go ahead and do. No one else was doing it. Live was a very new, and conferences, no one thought about it doing it live. And yeah, it has been a very well-paced, I would say, fast-paced, I would say, a journey of the past 18 months.
And it's also interesting, if you look back even at what we talked about on that particular show, we were talking about how to tell people do a better online talk.
Oh yes, I remember.
How to do this thing in this crazy online world, you know. And back then I was giving all of these wonderful hints and tips about making sure you have lovely lighting and you have a clean background, and you know, look at you, you have all these lovely curated things now in your background. You got the neon light, you've got the very well laid out shelves, you know, it's all very mod and very wonderful. And then you look at me, I've gone in the opposite direction.
Yes, I was going to say that.
And I'm in the middle of my messy workshop, right? Because I got kicked out of my office. So
Oh my goodness. Are you still working on your boat?
I'm still working on my boat.
Oh
That's
my goodness, long
over
project.
here. Yeah. So, and it's interesting because, you know, one of the things that we do in engineering and in business is we realize that priorities shift. Okay. And sometimes something happens and you have to say, okay, I'm going to park that thing for a while. And at the end of the day, it's very interesting because a lot of technology and engineering is like this, right? I can say that something that I'm doing right now, which I'm really excited about, which is my new company, which is Web DataWorks. We're doing some really incredible and amazing stuff with incredibly high volumes of data at scale. And the thing is, I had planned to do this about probably 15 years ago.
Okay.
But the technology wasn't there to do it, right? I had these dreams and these visions in my head that I just couldn't quite reach, okay? Because I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the skills, and more importantly, the infrastructure for doing these types of things at scale just weren't there. But so I parked that, right? And then over time, what I do is I say, well, look at those dreams or those visions or those wish lists that you had over the years and revisit them on a frequent basis. Because quite often what you'll find is that technology and circumstances have advanced sufficiently to allow you to revisit that thing.
Yeah,
and this is very much what has happened with my company. Suddenly, with machine learning and AI being effectively democratized, where now I can go in with Azure and I can go, you know, it used to be a case that I'd go, oh, new project, and I'd, oh, right, okay, where am I going to host my database? And I have to get some expert to do the security on that, and then I'd have to get somebody else to do this and somebody else to do that, and there was 100 different things that went on. But now I just go file new website, website, okay?
I like
and
that
all
term.
I have to do is let the creativity in my mind pour forth and bang. And it used to be the case that you had to be like, you know, an engineer to go and do this stuff, right? Now you don't, because I saw a crazy thing that came out of, I'm pretty sure it was somebody at Microsoft Labs about a year ago. And what they did was they went to a whiteboard and they drew just a really rough sketch of an outline of a website. And then they went to took a picture of this and they put it into a bit of Azure AI and they said, build the website.
Oh my goodness.
And it did.
It did,
right? And when you think about what actually happened there, right, it just took that image and it transformed it into a working website. So how do you do that, right? And, you know, 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago, you'd be like, this is crazy. It's like Harry Potter. Anything that is, you know, sufficiently advanced that we don't understand, we consider magic, right? But the magic has actually come home. The magic is now today. And all we're doing is we're connecting the dots. And that to me is where Azure absolutely explodes and shines ahead of every other cloud. Look, I love the cloud. I love all cloud providers. They all do something awesome and everything else. But I in particular love Azure Cloud because it allows me to join the dots in a way that no other cloud does. It allows me to go from my IDE, from my development console, right? And just go do, and bang, the entire thing is there. It joins all the dots for me. It takes care of my security, my databases. It takes care of the UI. It takes care of the updating of the code. It takes care of the load balancing. It takes care of ensuring that I'm not going over my budget, all these different things, right? And that's absolutely awesome. So tell me this before I jump on, Stephen, how long more do we have here in this particular segment? Because I may share a few slides. You're actually on mute.
No, I was just checking if you can read my lips, but you failed me. You have about 15 to 17 minutes.
Okay,
more.
All right. Let's go then, and what I'll do is, awesome as it is talking to you, right? You know, somebody who's almost as handsome as I am. Let's talk very briefly about some of the things and the reasons why I think that Azure is awesome. Just give me one quick second here, and what I'll do is I will. I've got this new screen, and it's 49 inches wide. I know, it's crazy. It's like so big. I have to turn around to look at it, and it's like 227 inches together. But I only connected it to the day, and of course, as usual, I'm trying something new at the last minute. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just share this out now if it works. So let's do a quick share here. My apologies to everybody because you are guinea pigs.
I want to laugh, but I just try to control myself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll go in here, and if I do this as I'll actually, what I'll do is this. I'll make that there small, and I'll make this here big, and we'll do it a bit like a PDF is probably the best way to do it, right? So I'll go in and I will share this here. So are you getting it there now? Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So what I wanted to talk about briefly was kind of a couple of things. I'm pulling a few things together, and it's really about why, to me, Azure is awesome. And the key message of this is that I can just join all the dots together, and it just falls together. So we're going to start with the old days and a story. So my very first website, actually, and my first encounter with the internet was probably in about 1996 or so. Yes, my hair previously wasn't grey. It was about 1996, and I built my first website in, I think, about 97 or 98. And back then, one of my employers, I was with an airline company, and we were focused on air cargo. And we had this cool idea of building a website for cargo air companies. So we went out and we got in some experts, and we asked them, how do we actually do this? And what do we need? Because we had no idea, right? We just knew that there was the internet. We needed a server. We needed some kind of connection to the internet, and then we needed to move these pages and this stuff on this thing called a browser. So the experts came in and they talked to us at length, and we went through, and it turned out that we were going to need a budget of probably about $2.5 or $3 million to put this internet website up and working. We were going to need to buy 3 great big, hugely fast Unix machines that were going to cost us about $50,000 each. We were going to need to build a special server room inside in our office to contain these. Now, we were lucky because we were based right in the center of Dublin, right beside one of the universities. And that university had one of the fastest connections to the internet at the time, which I think was something like 128 kilobytes per second, which is laughable now, but back then it was pretty huge. So for us to get a connection from our office to there was going to cost another 100,000 to dig up roads and to bring pipes down and everything else. And then beyond that, we had to worry about things like engineers who knew how to write this strange thing called HTML, and people who wrote in languages like Perl and PHP and stuff, which were very much as well in their infancy from a web production point of view. So all of that happened, and it was a reasonably successful project, but it was a huge project. It involved about 35 or 40 different people. The budget was in the millions. It took us nearly 3 years total to get the whole thing up off the ground, and it was absolutely massive. The difference is between then and now, if I have an idea for a website, I just go file new website, as I was saying to Stephen earlier. And that's absolutely mind-blowing that we've come from a time where we had to spend such huge amount of money, time, expertise, to now where anybody with a very basic understanding of internet technology can just go in the same way as file new slide or file new Word document, can just go file new website. It's absolutely huge. So the old days have moved on, and we have all of these incredible things these days. But back then, I want to talk about something else. This was the edge of my world. So back then, the edges of my world were the maybe 10 or 15 books that were present on my bookshelf. And of course, I had Barney Southstrup's C++ programming language reference book. And I had one on my favorite language at the time, which was Pascal, Delphi. And interestingly enough, the architect, the main engineer who put together Delphi, the language of the time, moved from then Borland into Microsoft, and he was then the father of the C# language, which we all know and love. And the point here is that back then, the limits of your knowledge, the edges of your world, were what you had on your bookshelf, and maybe what the person in the next cube or the next desk to you, what they knew. Okay, so that was the extent of your world. You knew nothing more, and you could do nothing more. And this is one of the reasons why people started going to technical meetups, technical groups, because they could maybe learn something new, they could learn about a new book, they could ingest something new, they could grow something bigger. The edges of our world are now so much bigger. The edges of our world are actually now wrapping the entire universe, right? Because instead of the limits of my knowledge being fixed to 5 or 6 books, my knowledge is now unlimited. So not only can I go in and can I find information on anything I want and expand out the knowledge that I have from an engineering point of view, but I can reach out and I can see how other people have done it. And critically, I can reach out to the communities of people who have shared things and continue to share things on a daily basis, like everybody here in this conference, and that expands my world. So my world is no longer this little small thing. My world is now expanded, and it is the universe. And that means that my opportunity has jumped up so much more as well. The language I know and loved back then, as I said, was Delphi. And I loved a little thing which delineated the start and the end of my world. And there were 2 words which were called begin and end. And that's what was used in Delphi or Pascal to hold together a particular function. We would say begin this do all the stuff, and then end. And my world was shattered when Anders Hellsberg came in and he said, no, we don't need that anymore. We'll just use these brackets. So why would you get rid of it and just use those brackets? It's crazy. And I resisted for quite a long time. And then eventually I caved in, and I decided to learn to love this C# thing. I didn't like the Visual Studio IDE. In fact, I hated it. I thought it was clunky. I thought it was wrong. Everything was in the wrong place. I wanted my nice Borland studio. I wanted my Delphi back. And the message from this is that things don't stay the same. Things constantly change. And of course, in engineering, things change all of the time, right? And if you don't change, you're dead. You got to keep moving, right? But if we stop and we allow ourselves to be entrenched and to stay with one thing all the time, we're not going to grow personally, we're not going to grow professionally, and we're not going to grow the entire universe of engineering. It's important to keep growing and to allow yourself to be open to learning all the time. I went to my first Azure conference in, I think, 2010. And I was sent by my bosses at the time, and they said, they're talking about this thing called Azure, and it's called the cloud. And you seemingly get all of your code and you move it into this thing called the cloud. And it's meant to be great and awesome. So the Microsoft folk are telling us that we need to move our stuff onto the cloud. Go and find out about it and tell us, are we ready for it yet? So I went to this Microsoft Azure conference in 2010, and I came away shaking my head and saying, this is too difficult. This is just, wow, this is going to never catch on, right? So I was like that guy in IBM who said there'll be never any more need for about 5 computers in the world, okay? I said, this will never catch on, this Azure business. It's too complex, it's too clunky, you've got too much heavy work. And I left it, and we continued what we were doing with our standard client server architecture and our 3-phase implementations and everything else. And we just stuck with that, right? And then about 3 years later, up came the next Azure conference. And I said, okay, I'll go along now and see what's changed. And what happened was I suddenly started seeing all this kind of stuff here. I started seeing things that were virtual machines that I could control from a desktop. I started seeing these and hearing about these things called containers, and hearing about how containers could be managed. And I didn't quite understand it, but as I started learning more about it, I suddenly realized and went back to something that I have known that I need to pulling back all the time, which is don't get stuck in the present. Always look back to what you tried to do a few years ago and see, has it moved on? And if it has moved on, well, then go and revisit the ideas you had earlier, because probably you'll be able to do them now. Okay, so join the dots. So when I went back the next time, and we look now at a conference about Azure now, we've moved from this type of thing, and now suddenly we have this type of thing, okay? The big message here is that when we go and we look at what I've talked about earlier on, which is the file new website, and previously we had nothing but this, now we have all of this individual gold, pure gold at our fingertips. Azure takes care of the security and management. It takes care of the integration. All of our data is there, ready to interoperate, not only with the different types and forms of data that we might have, be it structured or unstructured, but also connected in with intelligence. When did he ever think that we were going to have machine learning built into our database, where we can actually write some code in our database right beside the data, so we don't have to move our data out to a machine where the intelligence is and then move it back again, losing all of that speed and bandwidth and everything else, but actually having the AI built in to the database itself. Right? So these are concepts that we now have built into the very core of what we have in Azure. And the most important thing is that it's all interconnected, right? They have finally joined up the dots in a way that you don't get in other cloud services. In other cloud services, always seems to me to be very disconnected. Whereas in Azure, I sit down at Visual Studio Code or in my full Visual Studio environment, and I can drag and join everything together. I can build up an entire infrastructure with my security dealt with from Azure Directory Services right down to the connectivity with a multi-factor authentication, with a function that only comes up every now and again, with functions, right down to my AI popping in from the AI service when I need it. So I only consume what I need by joining together the dots. And there's never been an opportunity like what we have today. It's absolutely amazing. So the most important thing is think about what you want to do now. And if you can't do it now, revisit it in a few years' time, because most likely you will be able to. And always look to say to yourself, where is the lowest piece of friction? Where is the easiest way I can get from A to B? And usually it's through integration. And this is what Azure absolutely excels at from an engineer's point of view. We allow everything to be integrated from A right through to Z. And it's important as well to talk to the business folk, because the business folk need to understand the benefits of an integrated environment, not just from the point of view of engineering, but also from a business point of view. Because business needs great insights need great data. And those come from great integration. A business person can go to the likes of Power BI, and they, with Power Apps, can drag together a functional working application that they could not possibly have done a number of years ago. You can't do this with other platforms, and it's because of the integration. And that's the power of Azure. So never forget that Azure equals opportunity. So Azure now is your universe. Where I started out, and this was the edges of my world a couple of years back, this is now the edges of your world. There are no limits. So just remember how to connect things up. And finally, before I go and leave you with those random thoughts about joining the dots and connectivity, remember that none of this is possible without community, without inclusion. We need to include everybody. Just because somebody is different doesn't mean they haven't got something to say that's important. In fact, when you listen to somebody outside your own echo chamber, you will learn something and you will be enriched by it. So always be sure that you are courteous, that you encourage people to talk, and that you go and give back to the community that's given so much to us. So I'd like now to, again, thank all of the speakers who throughout this conference have given of their time. I'd like to thank all of our friends and colleagues in the online community, and Simon for pulling this together, Mahesh in the background orchestrating and managing it, and now hand back over there to Simon, who will give us a segue into our next speaker.
Absolutely great, Alan. How drastically the Azure architecture changed, right, from the first time you visited till 2001. I feel that if I don't go and visit portal like for maybe like couple or 3 days, everything changes over there. If not everything, there's always a slight change. I always have to figure out, no, this was over there and it changed over there. So things are changing very rapidly, and definitely, yes, we have to keep ourselves updated. Everything can be done. And one thing that I would definitely take from your keynote is always go back and see what you couldn't do in the past and then try to redo it, because maybe you now have skills, or maybe the experience, or maybe now the technology exists, and maybe you can crack it now, if not then. So I'll have to go back and check out some side projects.
Look, to get a pen and to go onto a whiteboard
Yeah.
and to draw a wireframe and then say, build that website. That's Azure, baby.
All right, Alan, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. We'll see you some other time. Bye. Take care. Ta-da.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, with that keynote by Alan, we now move to our next session. That next session is by Gokan. Absolutely amazing keynote by Alan. We now move to our next Microsoft region director, Gokan. Gokan is a rock star. He's going to talk about on how you can build bot from data, and that too with using Azure and Microsoft Teams. So let's invite Gokan to Cloud Summit 2021. Hi, Gokan. Welcome to Cloud Summit 2021.
Hello, Simon. How are you, my friend? Long time no see.
Yeah, long time no see. Look, we are branded black.
It is.
Gokan, I know, I always love your background for all that you have. People sometimes call it cartoons, and I just hate it. We're gonna do chit chat towards the end of your session, so please feel free to go ahead and share your screen. I'm really excited about this bot thing that you built out of Microsoft Teams, right? I'm really excited. So
Sure.
Share your screen and I'll add it.
There you go. The screen has been shared, my friend.
I see it. You're inside StreamYard. I now see your slides. Everybody else can see it. Next 25 minutes is all yours.
Thank you so much. Everyone, welcome to this session about from data to bot in minutes with Azure and Microsoft Teams. This session is actually for everyone within the Azure ecosystem, touching a little bit about the collaboration stack in Office 365. Today, what we have is a lot of legacy applications, a lot of legacy infrastructure, a lot of old classic way of doing stuff, and one of them is FAQs. Pages, tons of pages in SharePoint pages or HTML pages that actually I hate. Honestly, it's something that feels so old school that I once said I'd like to automate this. I'd like to have some bots, some intelligence within my Teams, within my SharePoint, within my XYZ. I don't know what the capabilities are, but let me check. And this session is all about that. It's all about how we can bring data into Azure and transform that data into something intelligent within Microsoft Teams. My name is Gokan Ozcifci. Ozcifci is quite complicated, but Gokan is more than enough. Principal at ONeill, and since 2 months, VP of Global Partners and Strategic Alliances at Juno Internet. I'm a Microsoft Regional Director and MVP. And Simon, this is for you. I just got this like 2 weeks ago, and this is my C# Corner MVP award. I'm quite proud about this one as well. So I'd like to show this, and I'll be keeping it very, very close to me. So I only have like one slide because we have like only 25 minutes, and I'd really like to show you what the intelligence and capabilities are of the bot ecosystem within Azure and Teams. We will build a knowledge base within QAmaker.ai, and that will actually take us a few minutes, and then build our first bot and then connect it to Microsoft Teams. I know 25 minutes is quite limited into time, but if we still have time, and if Azure doesn't give me strange issues, because since the morning I had some weird errors, then we will also see how we can build our first app in with Microsoft Teams and then publish that app across the organization. So that's the only slide. We will have our data into the knowledge base, push it to the bot framework, and then use it across multiple devices. That's the only slide. Honestly, Azure is all about demo. It's all about how you can use it. So let's go to the first thing. So everyone which wants to use a knowledge base, which want to bring actually knowledge into Azure, well, first thing you need to do is to come to QAmaker.ai. This is a cognitive service within Azure, and you can build a knowledge base after you sign in within that website. Just search for your tenant, and as you can see, I have one knowledge base which is here, which is called QAmaker. If I hit on that one, well, you will see that I have a bunch of questions. I have what is the best club in the world, where to upload my timesheet, how old is Gokan. I can even add more questions. I can just come here and say add Q&A pair, and I can say how sexy is Gokan's background, right? So that could be a question, not that very productive, but could be a question. And I can give a reply to that. Wow. This.
Can you zoom a little bit? Yeah, zoom.
Zoom like this?
Zoom in. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Then you can just add some responses to that one as well. Then you can save and train your knowledge base. I'm just showing how the flow is working, and then we will definitely go into a deep dive how you can create all of that. I have a bunch of questions, and then you can easily come to Microsoft Teams and then open a new thread or use an existing one and then just chat with your bot and say, hey, my bot, how sexy is Gokan's background? And then the bot will intercept that question that you had. And I think I did a wrong thing. I did save and train, but I didn't publish. We'll need to publish the questions so the endpoint will be available for everyone. So save and train will only save and train the intelligence within the Q&A maker, and then you need to publish the newly added question. And now it says success. Now let's go on Teams and try it again. And let me just open my bot within Teams and then say Q&A bot, how sexy is Gokan's background? And now the endpoint back, and I can't type anymore. There we go. Gokan's background. And now the bot will actually go to the knowledge base, check for the questions I have inside. If he finds something similar to the question, then he will give the response that he has, like, wow, this is fantastic, right? As easy that it is, but how do you do that? So let's go into Azure and see how we can do something very easy like that. First thing first, you have to go on the Q&A-maker.ai and hit on create a knowledge base. Then you will see you have like 5 steps. The first step is to create a Q&A service in Azure. Second is to connect. Then you can name your knowledge base, populate that one, as well as give a chit chat. I will go through all of them. You need first to hit on creating a new Q&A service, which will take you to Azure, authenticate on the website, and now you will be able to create a new Q&A service in Azure. Let's do that just to show you how this is working. Well, you just select your subscription, you select your resource group, you can create a new one, you can use an existing one, nothing rocket science. I will be doing a resource group test Sept 2021. I'm giving a new resource, and then you can choose for the location. You can give a name. I will give it Summit 2021. There we go. And you can go for the licensing. Remember, you have one which is for free. Then you can use a standard one. You can only have one free subscription per tenant. So meaning that I cannot use another one for free. I have to pay for the second one. Then I can go for the standard one. Then you go for the search. You can search for. You can specify the location. Again, go for the pricing key, the name for the app service details, and then if you want, you can enable the app insights, yes or no. Basically, that's it. If I hit on review and create, now I can create that service, which is a Q&A service under Azure, and I can then go to the second step, which is here, connect the Q&A service to my knowledge base. This will take a few seconds up to minutes to create, right? It can even fail because, I already have like one of those free, and I cannot, and I think I used another free for the search, but basically this would be how you create the Q&A service. Then you need to hit on refresh on that side, on the second step. Now it will go and check for every Q&A service you have under Azure, and then you can select your subscription, and then you will see the one that I just created just before the session to make sure that everything is working quite well. Take the example that in your scenario, in your environment, you didn't have that issue of free subscription. You just select the standard one. You have your own Q&A. Then you go on step 3. You just give a name, Summit 2021. And this is like the most interesting thing that you will ever see in your life within the intelligent bot framework, is that you can pre-populate questions coming from docs, PDFs, XLSX. The bad thing with that is it doesn't take in consideration links, like a SharePoint link, which is so bad for me because I would love to input some SharePoint documents, SharePoint pages into that URL, but it looks like it doesn't still intercept. It was I'm not going to say an issue, but it's by design since 2019, and I know that the team is still working on top of that. But what you can do is basically go on the internet, search for a PDF file like this, I will just maybe make it bigger for Stefan. Like you have some URL, you just copy that, and then you can just add that URL here in, and then it will take every single question, every single paragraph, every single thing that he thinks would be actually suitable for a question into a knowledge base. And then finally, you can actually choose for a chit chat. Chit chat is actually some questions, professional, friendly, enthusiastic, that you can pre-populate your knowledge base. Like how old, remember when you have on Siri, you can just ask Siri a joke? Well, it has the same capabilities. It will fill in your knowledge base with a few of questions. I'm not choosing for anyone, and then you can easily create your knowledge base. This takes a few minutes, so I'm not going to do that. I will just go to my knowledge base, and I will select the existing one to show you on how it looks like. I have my Q&A maker. I have my questions. You've seen them. I can save and train and then publish them. But I will show you the other thing. Under settings, if I come here, remember I told you you can add some questions, is if I just hit that PDF coming from the Surface Pro, well, I can add this and then save and train. Now, it will take, as I mentioned, every question he thinks is valuable for you and add them under Microsoft, under the knowledge base. And if I now come under the edit section, well, remember I had like 4 questions. Now I have like 4 pages, and I can just go next. And you will see now I have a bunch of other questions, like Surface Pro 7. If I ask the question to my bot about Surface Pro 7, then it will give me that response. If I ask about October 2019, which I think is not that good, you can always modify this. This is still AI, so not everything is perfect. But if you hit October 2019, it will give you that response under the bot. You have the top features and benefits, power and performance. What I really like is on page number 2 is the technical specifications. Right? You can ask to the bot about the technical specifications, and it will give you that response as well as this. So let's save and train. Now, it will take all the questions that comes from the PDF under my knowledge base, and I will publish this. It's definitely, we need to publish it. I did forget on the first demo, my apologies. You need to publish it, otherwise the endpoint will not listen to the new questions. Now, it's a success. If we come back to our Microsoft Teams, there we go. And if I ask and I start a new thread and say, here, hey, and then ask to my bot, the Neoxy bot, there we go, the technical specifications, right? Now, the bot will go from the PDF, extract the text from the PDF, give it to me, and then it will even give me those keywords, and I can hit on that and say, okay, that's really interesting. I'd like to know more about the memory as an example. And now he will just go on that section, memory, as you can see here, and show me that memory response within my bot. With only a few clicks, I was able to upload a PDF file into my knowledge base and then get that data from my knowledge base. So when you have built your knowledge base, well, that looks fantastic. You have your knowledge base. Well, how do you make that connection to Microsoft Teams? Because now when you hit on publish, well, you just publish and it's under Azure. So you need to come to Azure here under the resource group. Well, you will see I have like an existing one, the Q&A maker. That one is the one that we just created a few seconds ago, but it failed because I could not use a second free. So we'll use this one, the existing one. And you will see I have a bunch of those services all available for you. You can use the application insight for actually knowing who did what and what was the response time, what was the server request that you got like for the last 12 hours, and how much actually connection you have with your bot. Well, you can see a bunch of them. But what's really interesting for me is actually the web app bot, this one, right? Whenever you're done creating your knowledge base, it will ask you to create the bot. And you will see actually 2 things, which is really, really great for you as an admin to build your first thing. Well, you can firstly check things if they're working great here. So you can definitely ask your questions here. How old is Gokan, right? And now it will just go to the knowledge base and check for the response, only 18, right? So that's working. And then I can see here under channels. And that's actually where you make the connection. As you can see, I already have a connection made to Microsoft Teams. Basically, it's very simple. You will see that the Microsoft Teams logo will appear here, and you can just simply click on the Microsoft Teams logo, just hit next, finish, and you will see that connection made here. If I open this, well, you will see that there is now a connection to my bot, and I can easily talk to my bot. I can say, hey, how old is Gokan? It will say only 18. Timesheet, please upload your timesheet just here as well. It is actually quite straightforward to publish your app into Microsoft Teams and say, okay, this is how I want to do it. But what's really interesting here as well is it is not only about Microsoft Teams. You can actually push those knowledge bases to Facebook, to Outlook, to Alexa. And what's really, really, really great for me is that you can even, and if I'm not wrong, I cannot see it here, but you would also have a connector, a new channel to Siri or to Alexa and say, talk to your knowledge base and say like, hey, how old is Gokan? And if you understand that question through your voice, well, then it will give you a response to any channel you want. It could be Microsoft Teams, it could be the web chat, it could be even Alexa, right? And that's where the collaboration can go, get rid of classic FAQs and say like, okay, now I have my questions, they come through a line, and I like to get answers from Alexa, from email, from Facebook, from Teams. Teams is quite important for me because it's still the place where I do a lot of stuff, but this is how actually you can do stuff. So then the question we had with the organization is we have our environment running, but we want to make this available to the whole organization. How you do that? Well, therefore, you need to go on the Microsoft Teams, and I will use the web version because Simon just told me it's slow for it's small for people, so I will use the web version so I can make it wider for everyone. I will just connect to Teams, and you will see that actually by default, if you go to the App Store, well, if I search for my bot, which is like the Neoxy bot, well, it is not available. It's not something that you could easily say, okay, I have my knowledge base, my bot is created, and as you can see under the chat, I can have a chat with my bot. I can ask them questions, but I cannot add them actually from the App Store. How should you do that? Well, for everyone who already built applications from Power App, from Power Automate, or even now with cognitive services under QAMaker.ai, well, you have the free tool of Microsoft, which is called the App Studio. If you hit on App Studio, well, now you can build new apps for Microsoft Teams. This has nothing to do with Dataverse, as I've actually shown a few months ago on how you could build no-code applications with Dataverse. This is like you build your app and you can make connections to Azure and other services. Well, this is the existing one, but easily how it works is you just build a new app. And then that's the most boring part of the story, actually, because you have to give a short name, you have to give a full name, you have to generate an app ID, give a package name, and so on, a description, and there we go. A lot of stuff for your application. But what's really interesting for you is the following: is this tab, the bots. You need to actually set up a bot for your app and say like, okay, I have my knowledge base, which is connected to my bots, and now I'd like to make an app and bring that connection to my bot. So basically, it is your knowledge base connected to your bot, that bot connected to your app in Microsoft Teams. And every single time when you will make a request, ask a question to that app, it will make a connection to your bot, and that bot will look into the knowledge base and see actually how he can get the responses from that bot. Now, if I hit on setup, well, you will see, hey, I can build a new one, or I can use an existing one. And if you use an existing one, well, it will directly go to your tenant and look for the bot that's existing for you. One thing that could happen, and it happened several times to me, is like he cannot find the idea, or the bot that you did create is not available for you. Like this Q&A Neoxy bot, I have no clue idea from where you get, because if I go under my Azure, and if I go under the resource groups, well, you will see that I only have like the RGL Q&A maker, which has one bot, which is the Neoxy bot. And if I come to the Summit 2021, which has nothing. So I don't know from where he gets that data and from why he shows me that data. So I had to look, and now I have to find it back. So I said, like, okay, I cannot select from the dropdown. What I will do is I will actually connect to a different bot. So I went to the Azure environment, and let me find the Azure environment. There we go. And I said, okay, I have my bot, which is here. I will hit on that, and I actually need the idea. And what I did first time was I just took this for idea, and I didn't really read what was actually written here. This is not the bot ID. This is the subscription ID. And you can go to the configuration and look for a bunch of stuff. And I said, okay, I finally found it. But again, it's not the app ID, it's the application inside ID. What I found is that the actually app idea from my bot is not stored in the application itself. And you need to go to the Azure Active Directory under the app registrations and find your bot. And what you can see is now I can see my Q&A Neoxy bots. I couldn't find that one into my resource group. It was not available there, but suddenly this one is available here. And what's really strange as well is, hey, I can see this one, which was created like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, but this one is still not available for me. So what I did is easily just copied that one, which is the idea, and then came back to my App Studio and said, okay, I'd like to connect. Oh, and I didn't copy it. So I will just copy it. And I said, okay, I'd like to connect to that bot. And now I have a connection made by my app. And I can say, okay, please use for the messaging and go for personal team and group chat, but I don't want to use you for calling. No calling bot. So this could be your bot. And if you hit on save, now you have an application that basically listens to your bot. And then you can go for the connectors, messaging extensions. I will skip all of those because it's only a 25-minute session. And I'm just watching the time. We only have like 10 minutes left. You can go for the languages, domains, and permissions. Don't ask Mel about that. But what's really interesting now is the following one. If you go under Test and Distribute your app, which now listens to your bot, and the bot is connected to your knowledge library, well, you have 3 options. You can install, download, and publish. It gives you some errors. And don't get me wrong, this is Chinese for me. Like, this is so complicated to understand. But basically, it says, hey, my buddy, well, you have something that doesn't match. And what doesn't match is actually the app details. It asks a lot of information to you to build and to bring. Actually, I need to do 1.1, like something like that. Give a short description, give a full description, give a name, give a URL, test.com. And this could be like 10 characters, if I'm not wrong, maximum. There we go. I can just make test.com/privacy statement. And I can make a new one, HTTPS test.com, and now make it like the terms of use. You can choose for the logos and so on and so on. And now if I come here, it will say, okay, now you have an error because it's maximum 10. I think I did like 10. Oh, 1, 0, too much. There we go. And now suddenly, issues anymore? No, we still have some issues. Why doesn't he take in consideration? There we go. Come on. Up. Okay, now, fantastic. Now the error has just disappeared because it could be maximum like 10. I just remember it from other testing. So now basically I can take the app and say, okay, I'd like to install it. If you install that app, please don't hit on that button, please, but rather hit on that button. That button will actually give you the chance to add your application, which will listen to your bot, to a team, to a chat, or to a meeting. Easily go to a team and say, okay, I'd like to add that one to my test and say general Q&A test team. And if you hit on set up the bot, and please, the gods of demo, please be with me and don't fail. It's all about demo. And now, normally, I got the notification on my phone which says, Gokan, welcome. And now you see that I've connected my app to my bot. And now I could start a new conversation and say, hey, I'm going to get in my bot. And now, hopefully, that bot will be available here. And you can see, hey, the RZ well, which is not a famous name, but hey, I can select for that one and say, how old is Gokan? And now, what you will see, that hopefully it will reply. And there we go, the Neoxy bot did just reply, 18. Did you see it, how easy it was to build an app under Microsoft Teams with a few clicks? Just give a description, give an ID, just get that bot ID from Azure AD under the app registration, and that's it, voila. And now what you can do is the people who are behind the scenes, well, they can all come to the knowledge base and then add a bunch of questions, but a bunch of responses to the knowledge base. What happens now is the question that you could have is, okay, Gokan, I have my knowledge base, I have a bunch of questions, but what if something changes? Like, as you can see here, I have like a phone number, I have like an email address, a PDF can change. How can I make sure that the information is always accurate? Well, very simple. If you go under the settings, you will see that you have another option here, which is called refresh content. I can add a bunch of other links, and I can also hit on refresh content and then save and train. And now it will then bypass all the content under my PDF and say like, okay, I will then take the new data and update my knowledge base. Remember I told you that SharePoint was still not supported, and let me show you why I do say that. I'm under my Microsoft Teams and I go under Files. What you will see within Microsoft Teams that there is a partner program beta, and if I open this, well, you will see that there is a file with a bunch of text, and they're all very well written. Like if I just could ask benchmark competitors, well, it could give you this as response, which could make a lot of people happy. If I just take that URL, which actually could say, oh, okay, I'm going to my Q&A maker, and I will add a new URL. This is from SharePoint, right? Because you can see this is from SharePoint, which comes to my team, and it says, hey, Gokan, this is a doc.aspx. So it knows that this is a document from the office. It's not a PDF. It's not something else. It's a document. And you can just see the idea of that document, which is like this one under my tenant, and so on and so on. So if I add that URL, it is here. And if I hit on save and train, well, what you will see, the first thing is it will give me a pop-up and say like, okay, I like to go and get the data from SharePoint. If you hit on OK and say like, okay, that token can now go under SharePoint and get the data, it says unsupported invalid URL coming from SharePoint, which is, for me, the biggest drawback that you can have under Q&A-maker.ai. It is extremely easy to set up questions, to get data from PDF, to even get data from Word documents outside of SharePoint. But in a lot of organizations where I do a lot of work, we know that all the content is stored in SharePoint. All the record libraries, all the Word, Excel, PDF, and everything within the Office 365 ecosystem, don't get me wrong. With a bunch of organizations still have file service, a bunch of others still have a bunch of other engines like Jive to put their data. But people from, or organizations from the Office 365 environment, well, they all use SharePoint and OneDrive to put their data. And as you can see, that link doesn't work. And if I just go back here, well, I could easily say, okay, now I'd like to copy the link. And now the engine behind that is building a link for me. I'm copying that and coming back here again. If I delete this one and say like, okay, add this one, which seems to be quite different. It's like shorter, and it doesn't have that doc.aspx page. I'll add that one as well and say save and train. Now, again, it says invalid. This is a drawback. This is for me, and don't get me wrong, Q&A Maker has a lot of advantages and drawbacks, but the SharePoint side of stuff is actually very, very dramatic for me. What will happen if you don't like to have the questions coming from that PDF or SharePoint is you can easily delete them from here and then event train again. And what will happen now is it will save, train, and delete all the questions you had coming from the actually Word document. Now you can see I only have like 4 questions, and all the others about the technical stuff, they all disappeared. Let's make a test. I will publish this. So the questions are again available from the endpoint. Now all the other questions are now disappeared. If I come back to my Teams just here and say to the bot, again here, hey, I'm getting the bot from here, and say technical specifications. And now what you will see that the bot is actually not able to respond to that, and then it will say no Q&A answers has been found, which is normal because we just did delete that. A last thing to show you, because we have like 3 minutes left, is if you go under admin.teams.microsoft.com, well, as an admin, you can also take the app that you published under Teams, which listens to the bot and the Q&A. Well, you can come under the Teams apps and check for the apps you have in your organization. Well, I will search for my app just here. I will search for Neoxy. Well, you will see that I have my application, which is just here. And let me look if I can find, it was reg, something like that. No, as you can see, my app is even not available here, right? You cannot push the app to everyone. So what a lot of people will do, or the admin will do, is come to the App Studio, and then from the application you have here, well, again, under the test and distribute, you can download or publish this. If you hit on publish, well, it will check if it's possible to the admins to publish that app to the Neoxy Consultancy App Catalog. If you hit on that and you submit this, well, now I will just wait a few seconds until it publishes to the admin center. It's loading, and we have like 2 minutes left. Please, please, please. There we go. It has been submitted. I can view the status. I can submit an update here for, but what you can do is you can just come under the test and distribute. I will copy the name. There we go. If I come back to the app and maybe hit on refresh, which can definitely help, and search for that app, there we go. I now have my application being pushed from Teams to the admin center. If I hit here, well, you can see it has been submitted. I can definitely publish this and say this app is actually for everyone. Now it has been published, and I can come through the policies just here and say, there we go, on the global one, hey, you know, I have my apps just here. I'd like to add another one. And you could easily say, OK, I'd like to add my application, which is my bot. Herein, I will add this here. And now I will have Neoxy activity, my chat, blah, 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 and so on. And at the end, I will have my bot, meaning that now, from now on, I have my Neoxy activity chat, and the last one will be pushed through a policy, and I can see my app from here. Last thing, let me check here. So if I come under Teams and check to the app policy, let's hope that it has been published and I can see it. Oh, still not. Maybe we just need to wait a couple of minutes until we see the app appearing under the app catalog. I just did hit on refresh, so maybe we can see the app coming here, which is listening to my bot under Azure. There we go. And my app is now available into the store. And as an end user, as a potential end user, I can just hit and install that app. OK, very, very quickly, that was how you could actually get data from anywhere except from SharePoint, unfortunately, build your knowledge base, build your bot, publish that bot, and get that bot working on Microsoft Teams. So thank you so much for listening to me. I really hope that you have enjoyed this session. And let's connect. My Twitter handle is Gokan. I would love to get your insight, your feedback. As I know there is no Q&A at the end of the session, I would love to get your feedback and now how you feel. Thank you so much. Please learn with the event. Please progress and share your knowledge with the community. Simon, back to you.
That was absolutely great, Gokan. How much you covered in just about 25 minutes? That was like passing your seatbelts, and there's a Gokan session coming up there. By the way, thanks for that award. While you show that award, let's both of us show awards to everyone. Yeah.
Yay, there we go. Fantastic.
Gokan, we have one question before maybe you like to answer it. It's a very generic one. It's about the subscription, right? So for instance, I have a Microsoft Teams, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have an Azure, so I can get a free Azure account. That's not a problem. What does that solve the purpose? I can go and build a bot with that. Is that okay?
You need to have an Azure subscription for doing stuff. You can make a trial account, use it for 30 days, but then you will see with the free tier that I did use for the bots, you have a bunch of limitations, a lot of limitations. At a certain moment, when you go for an enterprise, you need to go for an upgrade of that, unfortunately.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, free is free. It's meant for testing. All right, Gokan, it was really nice connecting with you. What do you have up there above your shelves or top? I'm always interested in your background.
That's the best part of the event, right? That's seeing my shelf behind me. A collector, I'm calling myself.
All right, Gokan, thank you so much. It was absolutely amazing hosting you. Any final thing you want to plug in before we move to the next session?
Enjoy the conference as much as you can, because knowledge is the power of tomorrow. And today, thanks to Simon and all the other peeps at the community, you get that knowledge for free. So enjoy as much as you can.
All right, thank you, Gokan. Have a nice day and see you soon. Bye. Take care. All right, with that absolutely amazing session by Gokan, I always enjoy hosting him. We now move to the next session, but before we do that, this session was live on Learn TV, Microsoft Learn TV, and on Microsoft Developers YouTube channel, but we're going to take a break from there. The stream is going to end there, and it will only be available on Azure Summit.live. So yeah, I'm going to quickly play a video, and after that video ends, the streaming will stop on Microsoft Learn TV and on Microsoft Developers YouTube channel. So please visit Azure Summit.live to continue watching this summit. I'll take a quick 1-minute break and then I'll be back.
Hi, I'm Anna Hoffman.
Hey friends, I'm Nikolai.
Hi, I'm Mustafa.
Hi, I'm Tanya Janka.
Hello.
And I'm excited to be the speaker at Azure Summit 2021.
It's a fantastic event that will be 11 days live streaming,
where more than 100 speakers from all over the world.
I'm excited to speak at Azure Summit about Power BI and Synapse Analytics.
And I'm going to talk about security.
And also a Microsoft MVP for Azure.
I'm speaking at Cloud Summit about automated release of .NET application.
And the best part is that this is a free event.
Come join me live at Learn TV on September 17th.
Come join me live on Learn TV on September 14th.
Come join me on Learn TV on the 14th of September this year.
A bunch of other Microsoft and community speakers.
So if you want to learn how to secure Azure, come to my talk.
Join us, it will be a lot of fun.
See you there.
See you there.
See you there.
See you there.